I see the source of the confusion because our next caller is from New Jersey. Edison, it's Antonio in Edison, New Jersey. And how are you, Antonio?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for waiting.
Oh, no problem. Thanks a lot. I appreciate being on the show. All right, so I'm here to prove the existence of God.
Oh, excellent. We always like to hear those.
But before I do that, I would like to, well, first of all, give a little background. I've always been raised a Catholic. My entire family's Catholic. My family's actually from South America, so you can guess how zealous people get there about Catholicism. But I was a Catholic until last year, and last year what happened was I realized that Christianity couldn't solve many of the questions that I had, and I decided to become an agnostic right after, because even though Christianity did not provide an answer to some of these questions that I had, I could also not disprove God. I was never able to say that God did not exist, and by definition, being an atheist would mean that I would have to disprove God.
Actually, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
No, I mean,
my question to you guys is, why do you consider yourselves atheists as opposed to agnostics?
Okay, well, first of all, you're operating from a very common misconception, so it's understandable that you have that. But the fact is that anybody who does not believe a God exists would be considered an atheist. There are other people who are atheists who deny that a God exists. Anyone who says, I reject the claim a God exists is true, would be an atheist. That doesn't mean that they then accept the claim there is no God. Okay? So it would be in terms of like if Russell came to me and told me a story, and it was very far-fetched, but I like Russell, and I think he's a pretty honest person, and as far-fetched as it wasn't quite impossible, it was just hard to believe. And he's looking at my face, and I look really incredulous, and he says, you believe me?
Giant purple dragon.
Well, no, something a little bit, but it's like, I'm not sure whether to believe him or not, and he says, will you believe me, don't you, Tracy? And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know. And I say to Russell, I just don't.
Okay, I won $1 million in the lottery, but then I didn't get to the office on time and I lost it.
The point is, I can't say that I believe him if I have doubts about what he's telling me, and I'm saying, it's just, I'm having trouble accepting this. But if he says to me, well, do you think I'm lying? Well, no. I mean, I'm not sure if what you're saying is true or not. I'm not making a judgment that you're lying. I'm not ready to say that you're lying, but I really can't say that what you're telling me I accept that is true because it's really hard for me to believe this. So here you have a situation where a person can say, honestly, I do not believe this story, but at the same time, they're not ready to commit to the idea that that the opposite of the story is true, that this isn't true.
And to answer your question about why we say we're atheists instead of agnostics, I actually say that I'm both. I'm an atheist in the sense that I don't believe in any gods. I'm also agnostic about the question of whether it could ever be proven that there are no gods. Because, I mean, there are a lot of different ways to describe God, and I certainly wouldn't claim that I can go through every possible meaning of God and conclusively dismiss all of them. But I don't have any particular reason to believe in a God, so I'm an atheist.
Yeah, and that's mainly what it comes down to, is the question of when somebody says, God exists, do you accept that claim? Do you accept that that is true? And if a person accepts that it's true, they're a theist. Anybody else is an atheist.
So, having sidetracked your question, go on.
Well, I guess I just misunderstood the dictionary or something. But
well, what is in the dictionary?
Well, the dictionary just says that an atheist is somebody who rejects the idea of God, like, completely, whereas an agnostic is open to the idea of there being a God, but cannot either reject or accept such an idea.
Right. So well, I mean, depending on what you mean by reject. I mean, I reject the notion of a God, but that doesn't mean that I conclusively...
Let me just say, like, for example, I said, what if I can't accept right now that Russell's story is true? I'm just not at the point where I can accept it. I need some evidence that what he's saying is true. if somebody says that rejection is not accepting, then I have rejected Russell's claim. That doesn't mean I'm calling him a liar. It means I'm having a hard time believing what he's telling me is true. I'm rejecting that it's true. I'm not accepting that it's a lie.
Okay, I understand.
I mean, some people get real confused by that, so it would be okay if you don't understand. But if you look at a broad range of definitions, don't just go to one book, but look at a lot of different dictionaries, theological dictionaries, philosophical dictionaries, and even just regular dictionaries, you're going to find some that say, you know, person who doesn't believe God exists, and you're going to find some that say person who says there is no God. You're going to find both those definitions.
Right, but I think that you'll find also that most people who are prominent advocates of atheism, I'm talking Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, would all be working with this sort of tentative atheism that we're talking about, where basically they pretty strongly disbelieve in a God, but even Richard Dawkins says, you know, I don't put myself on the far end of the spectrum where I don't think there's any possibility of changing.
And what I normally say is that I cannot say there is no God with any more certainty than I can say there are no leprechauns. So in other words, I can't disprove that leprechauns exist. I can't. But I don't believe in them.
Okay, I finally understand the distinction.
All right.
Okay, for my proof, first of all, I came across this idea after reading up on some books on philosophy, including Immanuel Kant, which basically introduced me to the whole idea of utilizing a priori knowledge to find truths on top of truths.
Okay.
Basically, what my proof consists of is analyzing the fact that everything that we can say, everything that happens in this universe, or everything that happens in existence, happens for a cause. We can say that a priori, everything has a cause. That means that every cause there is has to have been preceded by another cause.
But there's
there's
a question, because this is not applicable at the quantum level of matter.
Mm-hmm.
But not even getting into like obscure science that gets missing. But we got an actual physicist in the room who's giving
me the thumbs up for
but
that out.
The question I would ask is does this generalization apply to God?
Well, that's what I was getting at.
Okay.
What first led me to believe from this theory, from this aspect of existence, was that the universe was in fact infinite. Because if everything had a cause, then even if the Big Bang was true, which that's a whole other matter, but if the Big Bang was true, it must have been preceded by something else, and that something else must have been preceded by something else. And what that first led me to conclude was that the universe was in fact infinite without possessing a beginning. Now, it is also true that
that's
both
not
matter
necessarily
and
the case, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know if this is what Russell means, but one of the notes I just wrote is that once you get to the point of Big Bang, my understanding, and I am no cosmologist, is that the laws of this universe no longer apply. And you are working off of cause and effect, which would be strictly an example of how this universe functions. Once you get prior to Big Bang, you can't assume cause and effect are the law.
Right. Now, bear in mind, there are a lot of competing theories about the origin of the universe. I mean, there are some concepts where the universe is really just one universe among many within, a metaverse, so to speak.
But even working with Big Bang.
Or there's one where, there's an oscillating universe where the Big Bang leads to a big crunch, and then that just oscillates out into another Big Bang. There are a lot of different notions of where the universe came from, and there's no conclusive proof about anything, but it's not for lack of plausible theories.